For our video presentation, we're going to do it on the Perforated sheet, written by Rushdie, and it's going to be retold by me, Karen De Leon, and Daisy Zarinana.
Background on Salam Rushdie. Salam Rushdie was a British Indian novelist and an essayist. He was born into a wealthy Muslim business family in Bombay. He studied at Cambridge University and studied Islamic history. The criticism of his work and life led him to be threatened, which later allowed him to write and speak freely.
Background Part 2. Rushdie was portrayed as a historian of ideas. His novels were labeled as novels of ideas as well, not narratives that revolved around a specific character nor plot.
Views on Rushdie. Rushdie is not a realistic writer. He was a practitioner in English of magic realism, also known as post-realism. The definition of magic realism is a style in which reality is diffused through supernatural forces, miraculous events, and exceptional characters that may have magical powers. Rushdie creates characters and occurrences that can break the ordinary rules of logic. His overall goal is to bring the reader closer to reality with rational and irrational features.
Works. The Perforated sheet is the first book to the collection of Midnight Children. Midnight Children consists of 3 books. This novel was awarded the Booker Prize in 1981, as well as many other awards.
Summary. Salim, protagonist, begins explaining his birth on August 15, 1947. His birth is significant because it correlates with India's independence from Britain. This is also significant because it ties in with the fate of the country. Salim is now 30 years old and realizes that he is running out of time. He is also determined to tell the stories he has held in for so long.
Continuation to summary. The setting is a beautiful early morning in Kashmir with his grandfather Adam Aziz, who has returned from Germany, in which he obtained his medical degree. He refers back to the peace they once had in 1915. This was known as the time of the Mughal Empire. As of now, Kashmir is free of war, soldiers, military jeeps, and trucks. His grandfather begins to pray and hurts his nose while praying. When he gets hurt, 3 drops of blood fall onto the ground.
Continuation of summary. When the grandfather gets hurt, he vows to never again bow down to any superior power, such as God or man. Therefore, it leads him to an open hole inside of him. Next, Adam is standing next to the edge of a lake and crosses paths with Tai, the old boatman. Salim begins by describing how prominent his grandfather's nose is.
Continuation to summary. Tai later then has a conversation with Adam, describing him how Ghani, the landowner's daughter, has become ill. Salim stops the story and inputs his idea on how the important things in our life occur during our absences. As he goes back to the story, Adam goes to the landowner's house to visit Ghani and Nasim. Adam realizes that the landowner is blind, causing him to become anxious, waiting to see the patient. A thought of fleeing and leaving the old man goes through his head, but he stops when he gets a vision about his mom. He later then falls in love with Nasim.
Continuation summary. He is then taken to see the patient, and he walks in to see Nasim bordered by 2 women holding a bedsheet, known to be the Perforated sheet. In the center of the sheet, there is a hole that is 7 inches in diameter. Kahani tells Adam the only way to examine Nasim is through the hole.
The characters. Salim, the narrator, also the main character of the story, was switched at birth. Salim holds the powers of telepathy and smell. His powers allow him to find the other children of midnight. When he turns 30, he realizes that his life is coming to an end and retells the story of his grandfather, which mirrors his story and the history of post-colonial India. Adam is Salim's grandfather and the patriot of the family. He is also a doctor and loses the faith he once had. Losing his faith symbolizes a vast hole inside of him. He later then falls in love with Nasim, whom he is only allowed to see through a perforated sheet.
Characters continuation. Tai is the old boatman from Kashmir who is wise and takes Salim over to Kahani. Kahani is the wealthy landowner who is blind and is Nasim's father. Nasim is Salim's grandmother and Dom's wife.
Themes. The first theme is the single and the many. Salim's birth was significant because it was a date of India's independence. He represents India and himself. It correlates with Salim's individual life and the life of the nation. It represents that the public and private will always hold an important part. The next theme is the unreliability of narrative and memory. Salim's narrative includes several factual mistakes. He later then realizes what he has done. When he becomes aware of this, he becomes concerned, but decides to keep his version. He keeps his version because he knows there is no going back. Even with the mistakes, Salim views his story as one of the most important texts in the world. He views his story as the story of India. Salim also states that memory creates its own truth and narratives.
Motifs. The perforated sheet works as a symbol of love for Adam and Nasim. Adam is not able to see his wife as a whole, but he falls in love with her with fragments. This causes their love not to be cohesive and never to be united. The hole in the sheet represents an emptiness and a portal. Knees and nose is represented as a necessity of prayer when bowing down. When Adam first kneels down, his knees touch the ground, and so does his nose. Therefore, it causes him to lose faith and not accept God. This soars never to bow down again, to causing a vast hole within him and losing faith.
Continuation to motives. Fragmentation. Salim is now falling apart. His body is cracking and deteriorating. He knows that he has no time left and pushes forward to let everyone know his story. The narrative in the book is also fragmented by going back and forth between the past and the present. It is also fragmented because Salim includes his personal ideas. Lastly, India itself is also a fragmented nation. India is fragmented between two separate countries. It is separated between the East and the West. Lastly, as new nationalities are created, new form of cultural identity develop that reflect the constant divisions.